and welcome to Educational Tips and Ideas with Kayla. I'm your host, Kayla Walling, and I'll be talking to you today about student interactivity and engagement through the use of technology in the classroom. Before we get started, I want to give you a little rundown of what we're going to cover in today's episode. I'm going to give you an intro and we're going to talk about why use technology. We're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of technology in the classroom. And then we're going to cover 3 tools that can be used in classrooms, specifically high school math classrooms. That's what I taught, that's what I know, that's where we're going to start today. But believe me, these technology tools can be used in other classrooms as well. So let's start. Why use technology? It all boils down to 2 words: interactivity and engagement. Interactivity is the process of 2 people or things working together and influencing each other. Engagement is being involved in what's being taught and what's being learned. Engagement is essential for teaching and learning. In 2020, Gashi stated, education should be adapted to ongoing changes in technology and use them extensively in the learning process, and I couldn't agree more. Technology has the power and the potential to transform the professional environment of the students into learning facilitators. This is an advantage we'll talk about in just a few minutes. But let's talk about a few other things. Redmond and his colleagues in 2023 stated that student engagement is an important consideration for teaching and learning. Their study found that students felt most engaged with learning when doing practical, hands-on activities, and this all centers around technology these days. Why use technology? It's student focused. It allows students to be at the helm of their educational process. Martin and Bollinger stated in 2018 that student engagement is linked to student learning. Student engagement is facilitated through technology. They also stated that it provides a positive learning experience and collaboration opportunities for students in the classroom. Engagement centers around activities that are practical and hands-on. Students are more likely to become engaged with the material that they're learning when they are able to actually manipulate it and work with it, not just look at it from a board and say, okay, this is what's going on. Student engagement can lead to active learning activities where students are getting involved in their education and they're taking responsibility for what's going on. It has also been shown to improve cognitive development and high level of student success. That also comes from the study from Martin and Bollinger in 2018. Engagement is essential, and engagement happens through technology use. So that answers the question, why use technology? And in all things, there are advantages and disadvantages. Let's take a look at the advantages first. First, using technology creates excitement and independence in development of students. Students become learning facilitators. Goski told us this by stating technology has the power and the potential to transform the professional environment of the student into learning facilitators. They take responsibility for their education and what they're learning because they become so intrigued by what is going on. Another advantage to using technology in a classroom is the differentiation that it provides to different students. You are able to go a little bit deeper into some content material, or you're able to focus really on the basics of different content material for other students. There are also practical applications that can take place. One of my favorite activities that I've done in a math classroom is looking at parent functions and using the parent functions and transformation of parent functions to create a game of similar to Angry Birds, where students have to use those parent functions and the path that the birds may fly on to eliminate the pigs following that path. So there's really a lot of application in using technology. Furthermore, it supports multiple learning styles when we use technology. You have your students who are kinesthetic, who may need that body movement, that they can get up and use technology or move around the classroom when they're doing this, but you also have students who are just going to be more engaged in a one-on-one type setting where they're learning through the use of technology because they're focused on what's going on in front of them and they're not having to interact with others because of anxiety or other things. You're able to reach more students through this. In some of my activities that I've done, I've actually seen students who haven't participated come up and go, "Wow, Miss Walling, this is really awesome. I liked that." So that is something that is really helpful and some advantages to using technology. And it's all about the students. It's all about creating a better environment for students and their success. And I think that is something that is wonderful and is exciting for our students. But just like most things in our lives, there are disadvantages to some of these things. We're going to look at it first on the teacher side or maybe the educational school side, and then we're going to look at the disadvantages maybe from the student side. So on the teacher side, Frolova in 2020 did tell us that you might be ousting experienced teachers with limited digital competencies or experience. That teachers may not have the experience in using these technologies, and they're a little apprehensive to be able to work through those technologies and integrate them into the classroom. But secondly, you have a possibility of the integration just being a little bit difficult, not knowing when to integrate a certain activity or a certain technology, or not knowing how to integrate it is definitely a disadvantage that teachers must overcome. Another disadvantage is the expense. Some of these things do require a one-to-one classroom or one-to-one school, and that is something that is hard to overcome if you don't have the support, you don't have the expense. But some of the things that I'll be sharing with you today, you can use for students in groups, or you can use for students on the go, and that's something that I think is beneficial as well. The last advantage on the teacher side, I think, is you have the dehumanization of education, because you have so many things and so many students that are interacting with the technology. They're not interacting in interpersonal relationships sometimes, and so that can be a disadvantage. You make teachers feel like they're not needed and that their knowledge and their expertise can't be bestowed upon their students, and that can be a little dehumanizing. For students, however, there are some disadvantages too. Technology can become a distraction. There are things that need to be put in place to make sure that students are working on what they should be working on and not surfing the net or interacting on social media. You could also potentially have an info overload, or students that are getting false information. With so much coming at students, they may just get overloaded when it needs to be something needs to be presented in a step-by-step basis, or they may search for help because they're trying to understand the topic that you're covering, and they may stumble upon some false information, and that is something that is a total disadvantage. So teachers definitely have to be cognizant of that and stay vigilant in what their students are needing and what their students are taking in. Another potential disadvantage is the lack or the loss of interpersonal communication skills. And all of this is taken from the Frivola study in 2020. You could also have cognitive distortion increased. So students going through, they're doing their lesson, they're doing it online, they're not getting it from a teacher, and they have a misconception or a misinterpretation of what's presented, and then they develop this cognitive distortion of the topic, and it's hard for a teacher to go back in and teach that, because if you might not know when that happens, or you might not know how that happened, and so you may kind of get to the point where a student believes something for a few weeks. I'm thinking of a math situation where a student may believe that one rule applies and actually is the opposite, and so they've been doing something incorrectly for a couple of weeks, and so have to go back and retrain themselves on that. And lastly, students become device dependent sometimes. Sometimes they feel like they have to have it, or they must have it to be able to do their work or do their, to learn or to follow through with their presentations, or just the everyday work in a classroom, and that may not be necessary all the time. And so students are going to have to work with not being dependent on their device all the time, because there are going to be times that it's appropriate and not appropriate. Now let's talk tools, and let's start with my very favorite, Explain Everything. Explain Everything is a whiteboard platform where people can meet to share ideas and make them visual and clear so they can better understand each other. This is taken from the Explain Everything website. Explain Everything is an app-based product and a web-based product. It's available for iPads and iPhones, Chromebooks, Android devices, as well as a web browser for desktop computers. A free account is available, however, it is limited, but a personal or advanced plans are available for individuals for $69 per year, or school districts can purchase licenses for teachers and students. There is a help center available for certification courses available. There are certification courses and webinars to provide support for users. I've used this in my classroom to create tutorial videos, instructional videos for class lessons, student creative videos, and projects. I've also used it today to create this video. What is really awesome is you're able to integrate files and pictures from other apps and other sources. And there are tools that allow for great presentation displays, a help center, such as a pointer tool, a snippet tool. You can write in text over it, you can erase, you can draw on, and you can just do a lot of things. To me, this is a must-have tool for any educator. Next, we will look at GeoGebra. This tool has so many possibilities. It is a free digital tool for class activities, graphing, geometry, and more. There are apps available for iPads, iPhones, and Androids, and desktop web applications. You can create an account to save work. My favorite feature is it allows you to create an interactive worksheet that can be assigned as a GeoGebra lesson or integrated into Google Classroom. It allows you to manipulate graphs. It allows you to actually manipulate shapes. There are resources available right in the application, wiki links for explanations, and shared templates that can be used, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's so many resources for help with GeoGebra. I've used it to show geometric and graphic transformations so students can see the transformations taking place in real time, just like the example we have here on the screen. Students can see the graphs dilating or moving vertically or horizontally, or all based on the sliding mechanisms built into the application. To see an example of an interactive worksheet, visit the link that's here on the screen, www.geogebra.org/MC8AMSRF. It's an awesome tool for any math educator at the high school level. The last tool I want to share is NeoCities. This is a website that you can use, and their website describes NeoCities as a canvas for people to make any website they want. This is a web-based tool, so anything with a browser can be used to access it. There's a free version that allows you to create one site, or you can become a supporter for $5 per month. This provides more storage space, multiple site creations, and support for developing and maintaining your site. I like to use NeoCities as a way to scramble exit ticket questions, or just to provide students with different questions that they might be working together with a group. This site that I host randomly changes between the different options I write. For example, using the quadratic transformation lesson, you can see some of the questions I asked on that black screen in green. But they're questions like, what were the transformations of the graph given a particular quadratic equation? Or describe how the graph changed when this variable was positive, negative, or a fraction. Students all enter the same website, or they all go to the same website, but they receive different questions at random. So this allows for a lot of conversation to take place between students, and it's just engaging because students are curious as to what question the other student got. So I want to leave you with a few closing thoughts. Technology is a teaching tool. They're not replacements. There are definitely roles that the teachers must play. Arnett in 2020 said that teachers have to provide the care to students. You don't get that from technology. Teachers' role is in getting to know their students and their needs and providing higher order feedback to students. Whereas a technology or a program can say that the student got something right or got something wrong, but they can't go in and analyze and explain to a student why it's wrong or how it's wrong. Teachers can do that. Van den Beemt said that technology use, or a teacher's role in technology use, is facilitating that technology use. How are students using it? How are they becoming literate in technology use and those kind of things? Teachers are also there to motivate students and to guide students through the appropriate use of education and educational tools. And so, again, technology is just a tool. It's not a replacement of the teacher, which I know a lot of people often fear. Thank you for watching this video today. If you want some positive input, go to positivepanthers.neocities.org and follow for more educational ideas and tips.